Every month, Valve comes out with a list of the top 20 games that were played on the Steam Deck for that particular month. They literally just came out with the list for March 2023. So we're going to be going through that list very quickly in ascending order. So first of all, at number 20, it's Resident Evil 4. This is a remake of a beloved game, and this just came out a few weeks ago, so it's not really a surprise it's on this list. Next up, at number 19, is No Man's Sky. And this obviously is a very famous game that was initially overhyped quite a bit. It seems like recently it's significantly better than it was before, so that's promising. Number 18 is Slay the Spire. This is a deck building roguelike game that seems like a perfect fit for the Steam Deck, and people seem to love it. Number 17 is Persona 5 Royal. So obviously the Persona franchise is beloved, and P5R is the latest entry in the franchise, and the Royal version of the game has added significant amounts of new content, and this is a recent release on PC as well. 16 is Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is around, I think, 80 years old now. It's still the most recent title in the Fallout series, which is another beloved franchise, and it plays extremely well on the deck. Number 15 is Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter Rise released on the Switch as the Switch exclusive Monster Hunter game. It recently came to the PC as well, and as the name implies, it's a monster hunting game, and you can play either by yourself or with friends. Number 14, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. So this is the base game of The Binding of Isaac, which is a roguelike that really inspired the rest of the genre, and it really started the whole roguelike craze. This is the base game, it's beloved, and again it also plays extremely well on the deck. Number 13 is the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition. This is very similar to Fallout 4. It's the latest entry in the Elder Scrolls series, both made by Bethesda. Skyrim has been on basically every machine under the sun, and it's still selling like hotcakes even many years later, so it's not a surprise it's on this list. Next up is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, The Witcher 3 is another beloved game. It's been ported to basically everything, and it's by far the best game in the Witcher franchise. And again, because it's a fairly old game, this also plays extremely well on the deck. Next up is Hades. So Hades released last year to fanfare across the board. It's another roguelike, it's a very story-rich game, and Hades 2 is coming fairly soon as well. Next up is Brotato. So this is a survivors-like game. It's very similar to Vampire Survivors, which you'll see fairly soon. And this is an early access game. I believe it's the only early access game on this list. It's fairly easy to run, and it plays very well indeed. Next up is Cyberpunk 2077. This released to very negative reception across the board, but over the past 2 years or so, they've improved everything. They've ironed out all the bugs, and it seems like now it's in a much better state than it was when it first came out. Next up is Dead Cells, and this is another roguelike, 2D side-scrolling roguelike, and the Castlevania expansion just came out for this as well, so that's probably why it's so high up on the list. Next up is GTA 5. GTA 5 again is just another game that's been on every single machine under the sun, and it's still going strong many years later, and yeah, I mean, it's always on best-selling games lists, so it's no surprise that it's here. Next up is Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead 1 was a beloved game. Red Dead 2 basically takes everything and does up to 11, and it seems to run fairly well on the deck as well, as long as you turn some of the quality settings down a bit. Next up is a brand new release in Octopath Traveler 2. I'm surprised this is this high up, but this released to critical acclaim. People across the board love this. This is made in the sort of HD 2D style, and it's more like a traditional turn-based JRPG. Next up is the biggest time sink on this list, Vampire Survivors. This has dropped a bit in the rankings, but it's still, in the top 4, and it's really just a beautiful game to play on the deck. It really did start the whole Survivors craze, and yeah, it's phenomenal. There's also a brand new DLC dropping within a week or so I'm assuming when that DLC comes out, it probably is going to climb back up. Next up at number 3, Stardew Valley. So this is a no-brainer, right? It's a very chill, relaxed farming game. There's a bunch to do. It's the perfect fit for the Steam Deck. It's an amazing game. At number 2 is Elden Ring. So this is From Software's latest game, and it runs fairly well on the deck. It released to critical acclaim. This is From Software's very first open world game, just like their Soul series and Bloodborne. It's an action RPG with an emphasis on very difficult combat. And finally, at number 1, there's Hogwarts Legacy. This is the only Harry Potter game to release in the last 10 or so years, so it makes sense that this is as high up as it is, and it's been anticipated for a very long time now. So yeah, that's the list for this month. In the meantime, if you want to see a guide on how to upgrade your Steam Deck's SSD, click up here in the top right, and I'll catch you next time.